Welcome to the deep dive. You know that feeling when the seed catalogs start piling up
Yeah.
and you can practically smell the garden soil thawing out? We're diving into that excitement today. Indoor seed
Just
starting.
that time of year?
We've got your stack of expert advice
Absolutely.
from the University of Minnesota Extension,
Yeah.
ready to help us turn those tiny promises into a flourishing garden.
And we're talking more than just,
Right.
scattering seeds and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
We're uncovering the why behind each step.
Okay.
The science that turns you from a hopeful beginner into a seedling whisperer.
Okay, let's unpack this. I'll admit, I've been guilty of getting swept away by the pretty pictures in those catalogs, ending up with way too many packets of who knows what.
Well, that's where Days to Harvest comes into play.
Okay.
It's that little number on the seed packet that tells you how long it takes to go from tiny seed to, say, a ripe, juicy tomato.
Right,
Think of it as your secret weapon against disappointment.
right. So no more dreaming of watermelons thriving in my northern garden by July if the packet says 100 days to harvest.
Exactly.
It's about matching those timelines to my actual climate.
Exactly. Now, while you're browsing those seed catalogs, don't be afraid of the off-brand option.
Oh, okay.
They might not have the fancy packaging, but the quality is often comparable.
Really?
Legally, seed companies have to meet certain standards for germination rates.
So you're saying I can be a savvy gardener and still get great results without breaking the bank on fancy seeds?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You might need to do a bit more research on those off-brand packets since they sometimes skimp on the detailed planting instructions.
Yeah, that's true.
But hey, that's where all the knowledge from this deep dive comes in handy, right?
That's right. You know, I'm starting to feel like a gardening ninja already.
Yeah.
But all this talk about seeds has me thinking about those half-empty packets stashed in my drawers.
Oh, yeah.
How long do those seeds really last?
It's a common myth
Yeah.
that seeds last forever. In reality, they have a shelf life, just like that carton of milk in your fridge.
Yeah.
And older seeds mean lower chances of success.
So those mystery packets from 3 years ago are probably pushing their luck.
It's worth a shot, but storing them properly will dramatically up your chances next year. Think of what seeds love. A cool, dark, and dry environment.
Sounds a lot like my refrigerator.
You got it. The fridge is actually a fantastic place to store seeds. It provides that consistently cool temperature and keeps those humidity fluctuations in check, which is key for preserving those delicate embryos inside.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a game changer. Now I have to ask any other secret weapons for keeping those seeds happy in storage.
Here's a trick. Toss in a silica gel packet, like the ones that come with shoes or electronics.
Yeah.
They work wonders at absorbing excess moisture.
Smart. But what if I don't have a silica packet handy?
No problem. A teaspoon of powdered milk wrapped in a facial tissue works just as well. It's all about creating that dry environment.
Okay, that is brilliant. Seed store and ready to go. But now I'm picturing my usual seed starting setup.
Uh-huh.
Usually just involves a sunny windowsill and a prayer.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that picture?
Well, that sunny windowsill might not be the ideal nursery we're aiming for. Let's talk about why. It's all about consistency.
Yeah.
Those windowsills might seem warm and inviting during the day,
Yeah.
but they're prone to dramatic temperature swings, especially as the sun sets. And trust me, those seedlings don't appreciate a roller coaster ride.
Okay, so I'm picturing my poor little seedlings shivering at night and then getting scorched by the afternoon sun.
Right.
Not exactly a recipe for success.
Exactly.
So if not the windowsill, what's the gold standard for location?
Ideally, we're aiming for a spot that's consistently warm, around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and away from drafts.
Okay.
Think about a basement, a spare room,
Yeah.
or even a cozy spot under a grow light.
Okay.
It's all about creating a controlled environment where those seeds can really thrive.
A controlled environment, got it. Now let's talk containers. I've always struggled with those peat pots, so messy.
Yeah.
And don't even get me started on the root disturbance when it's time to transplant.
I hear you on the pea pod struggles.
Yeah.
Individual cells like those seed starting trays are a game changer. Think of it this way. Each seedling gets its own little condo,
Okay.
preventing those roots from getting tangled. Less stress for them, easier transplanting for you.
Seedling condos. I love it. But what about those trays themselves? Can I reuse them or do I need to buy new ones every year?
Reusing is totally fine, but sterilization is key.
Right.
You'd be surprised what kind of microscopic villains can linger in those trays, just waiting to wreak havoc on your seedlings.
Really?
A quick soak in a bleach solution following the instructions on the label will take care of that.
Bleach? Huh.
That's a
Here, I guess it makes sense when you think about those trays, like tiny plant hospitals got to keep things sterile.
Exactly. Now, if you're feeling crafty, There are some great DIY options too.
Yeah.
Newspaper pots are classic,
Oh, yeah.
biodegradable and easy on the planet.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those. It's amazing what you can do with a little newspaper and some folding skills.
Right.
Okay, we've covered location containers. Now let's talk about the foundation of it all. The soil. Is that special seed starting mix really necessary? Can't I just scoop some dirt from my garden?
It's tempting, but that garden soil, while full of life,
Yeah.
isn't always the best starting point for delicate seedlings.
Oh.
Those seed starting mixes are like a perfectly balanced meal formulated to provide the ideal texture and nutrients for those baby roots.
So no tough love for these seedlings, huh? They get the gourmet treatment from day one?
Exactly. Think of it as an investment in their future success.
Right.
Now, once you got that seed starting mix ready to go, let's talk about planting depth.
Okay.
It's a common point of confusion, but there's a simple trick.
Okay, planting depth, I'll admit I've always just eyeballed it,
Yeah.
which might explain why some of my seedlings never quite make it past the starting line. What's the trick to getting it right?
It's all about the seed's perspective.
Okay.
A good rule of thumb is to plant the seed 4 times its width.
Okay.
Imagine stacking 3 more seeds on top. That's about the depth you're aiming for.
4 times the width.
Got it.
That's way more precise and easier than I would have thought. So we've got our seeds nestled in their cozy mix. What about light?
Light is key, but remember, not all seeds are created equal.
Right.
Some need light to germinate, while others prefer to sprout in darkness.
Oh.
It's like they're saying, shh, we're trying to sleep in here. Always double-check those seed packets for specific light requirements.
Sleeping seeds. That's a new one. I guess even plants need their beauty rest. So we've covered light. Now what about warmth?
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about that consistent temperature being crucial?
Yeah.
Well, using a heat mat can make all the difference, especially in those early stages.
So we're not just talking about setting them near a heat vent.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Think of a heat mat as a gentle, consistent source of warmth that radiates from below, almost like a spa treatment for your seedlings.
Okay.
This bottom heat helps maintain that ideal soil temperature, which can actually be a few degrees cooler than the air temperature.
A seedling spa day. I love it. No wonder those heat mats are a favorite among serious gardeners. Okay, our seedlings are sprouting. They're loving their cozy setup. What about watering?
Right.
This feels like where my overenthusiasm can really do some damage.
You're right. Watering seedlings is a balancing act.
Yeah.
You want to keep that soil moist, but not soggy.
Right.
A spray bottle is your best friend here. It allows you to gently mist the seedlings without disturbing those delicate roots.
Okay, so a gentle misting it is. But what about those trays with the drainage holes? Can I water from the bottom, or will that drown the poor things?
Bottom watering is another great option. It encourages those roots to grow deeper as they search for moisture. Simply add water to the tray and let the soil soak it up from below. It's like giving your seedlings a refreshing drink from their roots up.
2 great options. I'm all about having multiple watering techniques in my arsenal. Now, what about feeding? Do we need to start fertilizing right away?
Here's the good news. Those seedlings come with a packed lunch.
Okay.
They have all the nutrients they need stored within the seed itself for the first few weeks.
So no need to rush out and buy specialized seedling fertilizer?
Not immediately. Once your seedlings develop their first set of true leaves,
Okay.
those are the leaves that emerge after the initial seed leaves, you can start thinking about a diluted fertilizer.
Well,
But remember, go easy on them. We're talking about a quarter of the usual strength.
okay.
Over-fertilizing at this stage can do more harm than good.
Gotta hold back on the fertilizer until those true leaves make an appearance. Now let's talk about the big leagues. Transplanting. This is the part that always makes me nervous.
I get it, but with a little know-how, you can make it a smooth transition. The golden rule. Handle those seedlings by their root balls, never by the stem.
That makes sense. The stem always seems so fragile, like it could snap at the slightest touch.
Exactly. Imagine you're holding a baby bird. You wouldn't grab it by its legs, would you?
Right.
Same principle applies here. Support those roots. Now, once they're in their new pots, it's tempting to move them straight outside.
Yeah.
But there's one crucial step we can't skip. Hardening off.
Hardening off.
Oh, wait.
It sounds intense, like some kind of boot camp for plants.
It's more like a gentle acclimation process.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Those seedlings have been living a pretty pampered life. Indoors, consistent temperatures, filtered light, no strong winds. Suddenly exposing them to the elements is a recipe for shock.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. So it's about introducing them to the outdoors gradually.
Exactly. Start by finding a shady, sheltered spot in your garden
Okay.
and let them hang out for a few hours each day. Gradually increase their exposure to sunlight and wind over a week or two.
So they can build up their tolerance, kind of like we do when we're getting used to a new climate.
Exactly. It takes about 2 weeks to fully harden off your seedlings, but by then they'll be much more resilient and ready to thrive in their new outdoor home.
Hardening, I'm adding that to my gardening vocabulary.
There you go.
It makes so much sense. Okay, my seedlings are hardened off. They're looking strong and ready to go. Any final tips for planting them out in the garden?
Timing is key. Choose a cloudy day or wait until late afternoon when the sun isn't as intense.
Okay.
And if you're using peat pots, don't be afraid to tear them down a bit before planting. You want those roots to spread out into the garden soil, not get stuck circling inside the pot.
Give those roots room to roam. This has been incredibly helpful. I feel like I've graduated from Seed Starting 101.
Yeah.
Any final words of wisdom for our listeners before we wrap up?
Here's something to ponder as you embark on your seed starting journey. Get to know your microclimates.
Microclimate, so like little pockets of weather in my own backyard.
Exactly. You might be surprised by the temperature and light variations in different parts of your garden. A south-facing wall will be much warmer than a shady spot under a tree. Paying attention to these microclimates and understanding your plant's needs can make all the difference in their success.
Microclimates, that's my homework for the day. You heard it here, folks. Time to grab those seed catalogs and get started. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into the world of plants and gardening. Until then, happy growing.